do appreciate this, and you're right about calling this mural Baroque, as Baroque kind of threw everything in the kitchen sink at itself, and during its period after the Renaissance. And man, this in itself is an interesting statement for me academically, as something to study about contemporary art and aerosol art pulling history forward.
Yeah, and like with that piece too, like that we all stepped outside our comfort zones. We all wanted to do something we felt like we haven't did before. And for me, it was, the translucent style. I learned a lot about like what can be done that day. Or those 3 days, because it took us 3 days. It was over a weekend, and
Hmm.
I've never painted so quickly and so true. And it was one of those pieces where, like, usually I get lost in the process, like the spaces in between your thoughts when you're painting. And with that one, we all were very aware and very dilated and very
Hmm.
controlled with the palette. We stayed. It was very difficult to not want to throw in more color, because graffiti, you pull in what you want or what you got, and we kept going to buy paint and staying within a certain color. No blacks, no whites. That's actually not even white in there, and we just stayed within this range of tones. We had like very little cools and very little warms, and the background was very muted, and it's all spray. Even the background, we just sprayed. Everything was sprayed.
Yeah.
Shout out to MSG crew. Shout out to Bacon. Shout out to Quake, dog. Like those, again, I'm so thankful to have those two men in my life who push me to be better and push the envelope still.
Big up the crew. And isn't that interesting, about what's about this culture, right? And
Yeah,
we talk about this often, about the peer-to-peer support system and camaraderie that comes with the territory, not just locally but around the world,
yeah,
around the concept yes, of making art, but for many of us the concept of writing our name,
yeah,
and also how we write our name.
yeah.
What did you learn about style? What did you learn about painting?
Within my crew, once I got into MSG, the bar is set so high already. So getting in is just the beginning. Now, what are you gonna do? And seeing those boys perform on different levels, financially, physically, and how they hold themselves as men, I learned more about that than actual lettering or style in general. How to hold yourself now that you're in this thing, right? Like what honor
Yeah.
it is to be and what you need to do with yourself. And since from there, I pushed even harder. Once I got into MSG, my homie Negro put me down. He's an OG member of MSG. And from there, like, it's almost like I wouldn't say like a fraternity, but like a band of brothers that want you, but nothing but to excel. Even now, I'm in a group chat, and it's all about doing better, bettering
Yeah.
yourself. Everything from medicines to drinking green juice and to bettering yourself financially. I get the best financial advice from my crew too. So for me, I can't speak for other guys and other crews, but like it's a group of helpers, man.
Nice.
Yo,
That's
shout
a
out to
positive.
them, dog. Yeah,
That's
for
a
real.
positive thing to know about the whole crew.
Yeah.
In terms of you getting better, I I mean you're really just kind of stepping into a league onto your own space in terms of how your your painting skills are going, and the expressiveness and I mean the scale is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Tell me about this project here.
That's a portrait of Coco No Filter. She's a trans woman, and that was on a bakery owned by a gay couple in Aurora. Aurora was the city that Elijah McClain was murdered in. And I got invited to do Colfax Canvas, a mural festival. And I knew that area right there was important to paint somebody who shows nothing but love and hope and an abundance of light. And Coco is that. That poster on the side, she does wheat paste. And she does these hope hearts all throughout Colorado. And they're everywhere. And she just inspires people to be better. She's helped me on many different things. and I wanted to champion her and bless her. I've been waiting for the right time to post that one. I haven't even posted that yet.
Oh, wow. So you're giving us an exclusive.
Oh yeah, I want it. I try to do that, give them
Thank
all
you.
space, and like so I can build up the backstory and share the platform as best as possible. But with with painting portraits, like from letters, it used to be all about like burning cats and getting better, and I kind of moved away from like being the idea of being good or being the best at it to honoring the person the right way. And I think for me, once my mindset focused in that, started being
Hmm.
focused in that, I started to shift, and they started to kind of like breathe their own lives, right? Like the portraits can
Yeah.
now be what they need to be for that specific person. And I think that's where they start to get better, for me at least.
No, that's a very interesting way to see it, and I think there's what's also very nice about it. Again, it is as you describe this person, and we look at their portrait, um, we get that sense,
Yeah,
that this person is loving, that's caring, happy.
yeah,
Um, I also wanted to point out the graffitiism, the fluorescent shadowing reminds me of early LA character shadowing.
yo, shout out to Hex.
Hex, right?
Yeah,
Hex and
yeah.
Slick back in them days.
Dog, yeah, yo, I had a magazine. I can't remember what it was, but I saw like early Hex characters in high school, and I used to trace them shits, dog. It was all about biting back in the day because I didn't know where to get the funk from. But that cat was bananas.
So one of the things about portraiture that again, I happen to really um, appreciate both in photography and in painting is that a good portrait, like I alluded to before, will you'll be able to have a conversation with it, an imagined conversation.
Yeah,
And I think many of us, with the passing of Kobe and all the murals, if you pass by them, and I know I have, and just stopping and imagining the blessing, the soul, the memory of someone who has left the world a bit better, right?
yeah,
Um, the, so that alone, that carries a lot of weight. Um, and in terms of his his majestic size and his place in our society, to do this big ass mural of him,
yeah.
what was that sentiment for you? What was that kind of conversation you were having with him?
Yo, shout out to 2020 really sucking and giving me nothing but like content like this to do, right? It's a burden and a gift and a blessing and an honor, but at the same time heavy all the time, right?
Hmm.
To focus on somebody on a singular level and have to honor them. I love and hate it. With the Kobe, I was never a basketball fan. I'm not a sports fan at that. But
Hmm.
with the Kobe, I felt the weight of everybody when he was gone.
Sure.
You know, I got commissioned to do this by an ad company called AdRising, and they mentioned Kobe, and I was not reluctant to do it, but I was waiting for the right time to do one. Right, with our culture now, like there's a lot of like portrait guys out there, and there's a lot of great portrait guys out there. So I try not to step on toes, and Kobe was one of them that I thought was going to be done a lot. And he was, but rightfully so. And that's when I understood that like some people need to be celebrated. Some celebrities really need to be celebrated because I'm hesitant to celebrate people that I already celebrated. And
Yeah.
Kobe was one of them. I understood what he was for other people as a black man, as a father, as a basketball player. His essence, his legendary status. And so painting this one when I found the image was easy because it was soft, subtle, and beautiful. And I have no problem honoring a black man like that. Soft, subtle, and beautiful. Especially like the graciousness in the folds of his hands. I had a great time painting his hands.
Yeah.
You
Those
know.
hands worked. And that's the one thing I like about it. And it is, the hands, there's, I don't know if you've ever had the time to research this or interest in it, but photography of Black culture, Black the hands over time through the years is quite phenomenal. And there's been amazing documentation about that. and what that represents in the story of the African American male and woman. And you know, it's interesting for me that you're attuned to this kind of you know, this kind of reverence towards people that matter and matter in history and matter in culture.
Yeah.
And here, this is an exquisite example of that too.
Yeah, that was another fun one.
Tell us about this, because this is also an honoring
That
somebody.
So I painted this in a friend of mine. His name is Anthony Birdseed. He used to write Pigger, still writes Pigger. Here in the community of Globeville in Denver. That's I believe his name's Carlos Castaneda. He teaches a dying aspect of his culture, or called it's a Aztec dance in the rec center, in Anthony Birdseed's rec center, and he's quite the community leader. And I was told right away the importance of painting him. And right when I started it, the community was blown away. And seeing their faces and seeing them, like, seeing their leader championed and honored like that. The man did not want to be painted. And most often than not, when somebody does not want to be painted, I know I got the right person, right? So painting him was my pleasure. And the way they responded to it was
And how did he
so
respond?
rewarding.
How did he respond to it?
Humble as fuck. He was like, "You put that ugly thing up there? Why'd you want to paint ugly old me?" He wanted me to paint his wife, I remember. And I remember taking shots of almost more than half the dancers, and I painted another one. And I have a bunch of other beautiful images to paint as well.
So on this one in particular, the I mean, you're so accomplished at really getting as close to below the skin as you can, and
Yeah,
I say that primarily because of the texture, the use of color and shadowing, and you know, the bump map is ridiculous.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
you know what's funny? Like when you meet the right person, there's like a spirit about them, and almost like piggybacking off coffee, the adrenaline or like the spike in you when you drink some coffee. Like I do the same thing when I meet a person. I feel their energy and like, it just hits, and you feel like you got the right person. I almost want to run to the wall and start painting right away. So sometimes I'll take videos, I'll talk with them for a bit to kind of just like
Hmm.
feel them out, and it hits almost right away when you meet the right person. He was that kind of vibe, man. Like he champions his
Right.
community, champions his culture, and they practice, I want to say 2 or 3 times a week in that rec center. And it's a beautiful experience, and they'll invite you to dance with them. It's amazing
So
that,
so let's just for a minute switch um, cultures, switch gears and cultures,
yeah,
and this is really quite something. Um, Japanese themed. And this was this a commission?
that was a commission, yeah. I got commissioned to do a bunch of Japanese portraits, geishas or warriors, samurais, cherry blossoms in a backyard not too long ago in Fort Collins. And he told me I could paint whatever I want. I could pick my subject matter. So I scoured the internet and I found these beautiful references that I started kind of just playing with and doing my own take on. And like warrior women, you can always sell me on, right? Like warrior women action movies or whatever. So I wanted to do really stoic, strong, like Japanese women. If we're gonna do them, they're not gonna be subtle and submissive. I don't, like when I think of that, I think of like, I don't know, just powerful women figures, and I wanted to do like stuff like this, and so we did it, and it hit really hard. I was very, very fun doing these ones.
So
I hope I
now,
can do
when
more.
you do these, in terms of these private commissions, like
Yeah.
something like this was this for an exterior or interior?
Yeah, that's exterior. That's a specific type of metal sheeting that holds up very well with spray and with a clear coat. Like it can take snow, it can take sun. It's awesome stuff. Yeah. So that's all in this person's backyard, and they're doing a whole Japanese theme. And the person has like Japanese trees and everything just flown strictly in. It's crazy, but it's a beautiful ambiance, and it was a pleasure to be painting with spray paint. Shout out to Casey Kawaguchi, who's on that same vibe. That's his whole style is like that. He's Japanese. He's a Japanese street artist here in Denver, and his work is all like that. So definitely channeling him.
Beautiful. And then, of course, you know, there's also something wonderful about the skill that you have in that um, it's suitable for, you know, living or living with, you know, in your home, part of your design of your home. This in this image, this could be out of like, you know, some, you know, interior design magazine or architecture magazine.
Thank
Uh,
you.
this is part of a commission or you know, a specific client.
So yeah, so I have friends in Florida who own a resort who basically allow me to stay and they pay me for whatever work I do. And they trust that I will always, you know, bless the spot correctly and basically let me do what I want. Um, that's a painting of birds and foliage, right? But to me, like it was at a very dark time in my life where like I needed to push through with light. And so it's actually not about the birds, but it's about the light sources that just being pushed through. And painting that way, I learned a lot from painting with remote and bacon and how to push through, like push tones right through and play with color in weird ways, right? And so I'm using the light. I remember like across the street when the sun goes down, you can stare through the light, the sun coming through the foliage between the trees and the palm trees, and just like how you can see the cutout shapes and silhouettes of the trees, but the abundance of light. And that piece is called Abounding Light. But I needed that to be that right now, or at that time. Yeah. So to me, that's a very dark painting, even though it's seen as very beautiful.
So let me ask you something. Given that you, I'm hearing things in this conversation about your experience and knowledge about the skill and the art of painting,
Yeah.
um, uh, you know, especially technically and viscerally. But you're doing a lot of the work primarily with spray paint. We haven't come across any brush work. Do you practice with brush at all?
Not anymore. No, I exclusively paint with spray paint. No additives, no preservatives, no nothing
Hmm.
else. I'm in love with spray paint. I'm in love with graffiti. I'm inspired by graffiti writers and I'm inspired by spray paint. Like there's so much more to be done and I'm still learning new things. Even on this trip, I learned new tricks and new styles. And I'm in love with spray. I don't
Yeah,
care to paint with brush. Eventually I'll get to oils, but right now I just don't care. When I can't hold the can correctly, that's when I'll pick
yeah.
up a different medium. But right now, it's all spray. I,
And
I
and
don't
what
I don't
what
want to
I
do anything
like
else.
about that too is that I can see how that um, prepares you for the moment and for the time we're in, and to be able to creatively respond, particularly at big scale, right?
Yeah,
And we are at a rather contentious period in our communities. I mean, I always felt like we've always been under those circumstances.
yeah,
And but man, are we ever in it at the moment? And publicly, one of the things that's become very apparent is that this has been a period where um, not just people's voices were heard or their bodies seen, their art was seen.
yeah,
A lot of art in the streets and a lot of protest art and a lot of murals, especially, and graffiti, and the muralist movement also stepped up in protest. And you've done quite a few. So I want to talk to you about this moment, the uh, young African American experience, particularly in Boston, because Boston's wasn't Massachusetts hasn't always been friendly. We know that historically, and that
no,
here we find ourselves where you you have the skills to be broadcasting and illustrating for us. Tell me about what's been going on with you.
yo, it's the black artist experience is very new for me, right? Like graffiti has taught me the art of ambiguity, and now it is an important time for me to be seen painting, and so painting with detour. Uh, has taught me how to champion the responsibility of what it means to we got us right, but y'all can too. So I'm learning. I'm learning that being black is something I've always known I was because the world's always told me, but painting and being black is a new thing for me, and owning that and I guess honoring the responsibility of it all. This summer, uh, I've been on this mural campaign called Spray Their Name, where we've been honoring people and placing memorials throughout the city of victims that get murdered by people that are supposed to protect us, right? It's a weird, fucked up thing. And it's something that I'm still processing and going through right now. I've been struggling with it because it's definitely taking its effect on me, on all of us. But I understand the responsibility and the importance of what we're doing as a culture too. I champion the culture, and I'm thankful for all you guys and everyone that's been stepping up and doing something about it. Where this is the perfect medium and the perfect platform to be doing this. Graffiti and street art culture has really stepped up its game this year, and I'm so proud of us as a community, and I'm proud to be a part of this community. But honoring these lives in a beautiful light, right? Giving alternative spaces to mourn. You know, we ingest these videos like we ingest memes. You know, these videos of black people being murdered like a fucking meme. You know, and we've been dealing with this trauma, this generational trauma for years, and in this
Yeah.
time, like I don't know, it's crazy, it's unbelievable that this time is still this time. It's 2020. Dog, like, yo, Breonna Taylor, what the fuck, yo? Like, it's fucking crazy, and it's stressful, and I'm exhausted, but I'm still spraying.
Mm-hmm. And so when you get again, you know, given that again, the weight of history is all of a sudden imposed on you when you're supposed to be an artist, right? And
Yeah,
not again, not every artist wants to carry the burden of history on their back or care enough. And you know, same could be said of the public.
yeah,
I see it played out. You know, everything is a selfie moment, and you know, keep it moving. You know, and
yeah.
so in that, you know, one of the things that what's beautiful about these murals, these memorials, you can't swipe them away. They
No,
live. They live
no.
in your community,
And
right?
what's dope about them too is, like graffiti, that if they get painted over, we come right back and we paint right back over it. You know, we're those same people. You know, like, we got us. We're gonna take care of us. You know, and on a mass level, we're gonna. Our mission is to create alternative healing spaces, and so painting these beautiful portraits that are undeniably great of these people that
What
had
if
unfortunate deaths.
if you could tell me something? What in terms of the public's gesture or a moving gesture towards your work
Yeah,
that you've experienced?
yeah. Yo, it's funny you say that. It was just yesterday. I'm painting this portrait of Wes Watkins, and you know, understanding the responsibility of what I do is something I'm still kind of processing, right? Being a black man painting large portraits of black people at times, right? And yesterday, a black man, came out his house with his son, and his son must have been like 2 or 3, and he told his son to turn around and look at the portrait I was painting, and they were like less than 20 feet away, and the kid's face just like, his jaw just dropped and his eyes lit up, and he was like so engulfed in this piece that I was doing, and like right there, like, I don't know, I'm getting pieces of understanding why I need to be doing this, and that was one. I'm
Mhm.
learning it every day through people, you know, through those little things. Right there, I succeeded. I'm not even done with this mural, and I already succeeded with it because that kid, I made an impression on him, right?
Absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
crazy. I didn't have those things growing up. But I mean, I had hip hop, right? But I didn't have like a big portrait of a black man in my neighborhood. You
Right.
know, I didn't, you know, those things weren't a thing.
Right. And what's wonderful about that again, you know, it's that one impression, you know, just like you know, there was one impression and that stayed with you, and who knows how this will play out for this kid.
Yeah,
But also that you know, when you're painting these murals, there's purpose, right? There's a story, right?
yeah,
Like, and you know, these in these times, I mean, this one's beautiful, the one that you did of Sandra Bland.
yeah,
And you know, she was a young woman, you know, she wasn't even 30, and unfortunately arrested over, you know, silly traffic infraction, if that, and then found hung in the cell.
yeah,
You know, that's a real story. That's a human. That's a person. That's a living person who didn't have to die. And I think this is where I think, um, you know, sadly, you know, is we have to keep putting this message and these people's lives in front of people for injustice. But thankfully, as an artist, you have the facility to stay on the front lines with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy thing, you know. You know, my aunt says to me a lot, like, yo, be careful, you know.
Yeah.
And I constantly tell her, like, it doesn't matter how careful I am anymore. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I could be sleeping in my bed. That's that's my reality. That's our reality at times, right? You could be just sleeping in your bed, minding your own business, and they can come in and kill you.
Oh yeah, for sure. And this is the heartbreak of all of this, right? And culpability is also important, that people are held responsible and accountable.
Yeah,
uh, and the you know and that's the power of the image, right? Because we know the story, so every time you pass by the image, you correlate that to the story.
yeah,
And again, it's a reminder, but it's like also an homage. But also, let's just lighten it up a little bit, because you get nice on canvas.
yeah.
This one, Tyler, aka what was his alter ego here? Ogre.
Igor, Igor.
Igor.
Yeah, yeah. That was inspired by that. I think it was his MTV performance, I want to say, or his Grammy performance. Yeah, I think it was his Grammy performance of Earthquake, and like it was so incredible and impactful. And I was called to do a solo show in Denver called Uppity during Black History Month. And at first I was kind of unsure if I wanted to do it, and then when I saw that performance, I was like, all right, I got the concept. And celebrating him all posh like that in that Igor character. I
Hmm.
don't know, I was excited to do it. And from there, it sparked a whole series.
Has he seen this by any chance?
I don't think so. But I sold it not too long ago, so I don't know if he ever will.
I mean, the detail and the color, and this is all spray paint.
All spray paint, and that's about 48 by 60. I was really challenging myself to see how tight I can get, and I'm learning that I can paint pretty small. You know, that portrait's pretty small. It's about like maybe like 25 inches
Mhm.
across, you know.
Nice.
Yeah, shout out to Flame Paint and Belton.
Iron Mike.
Yeah, Kid Dynamite. Yeah, that was a fun one. That one really challenged me, the beads of sweat. So like chilling flame paint, which is a really thick paint, like allows you to create this texture build, almost like a relief painting. So if you see that painting in person, like it's got this heavy texture in the face.
Hmm. Well, that's the one thing I pointed out,
It's really
right? It
soft.
is that you're able to do something in the work that is very difficult, and that's to create the bump map.
Yeah,
And that, once you got that dialed in, you believe it,
yeah,
right? And oftentimes in this space, and you can see, when young artist is starting to kind of find their way, they're rather flat. They don't understand that conceptually, in terms as a painting and modeling technique.
something I went through, and something I think we all go through, and I think that's part of the process, is understanding how to contour or paint with the contours of the face,
That's
especially
right.
with lighting and shade. Very, very fun to do, but at times can be difficult and a pain in the ass. This one
Hmm.
definitely kicked my ass. I think this is the only painting that took me 2 to 3 nights. All of the other ones I did in about like, the one shot process, right? So like maybe a span of like uh 5 to 6 hours, and this one took me like 2.5 nights. You know,
Beautiful.
thank you.
It's a nice one, a somber portrait of Bob De Niro.
Yeah, man, that was a fun one too. I did three during Art Basel. I want to say 3 years ago. I did the
Hmm.
Goodfellas, and it was like a Miami theme. It was supposed to be sold to like a collector that ended up backing out. But I'm kind of glad that I still have some of them, because I'm able to like look at my work, my past work, versus my work now. Um, and that was done with Flame as well. I really like Flame's grayscale, and then Belton's grayscale as well, the stone grays.
Yeah.
So the way that paint comes out is just different. But
So
that's
now,
also like, go ahead.
go ahead.
Now I'm learning that like I like to use certain cans for certain things, or certain companies for certain things. Shout out to all of them. I'm down. Y'all can send me paint and shit. But like, I learned that, like, I really do champion, like,
Yo, what's up, man?
intention.
There's a raid on your end. What's going on?
Oh
Pablo
yeah,
said freeze, and I
I'm in
got
the
numb.
I'm in the hood. I'm in the hood. My bad.
Keep it real.
Yeah, but I'm learning, like, certain quality, like, paints, right? Or like certain style of paints, like lacquer based versus oil based versus acrylic based.
Which one is giving you the most consistency and flexibility with the portrait paintings?
Hmm. That's a tough question because a different wall will present different textures, will present different challenges, so I'll readjust to every game. Also, depending on what they have when I show up. And again, graffiti teaches you, like, to use what you got when you got it.
True
If
that.
I can prefer, to have a specific brand, I'd rather not mention.
Yeah.
But there are, certain companies do different things, but
Yeah.
they're all great at certain specific things, and I'm
No,
learning that,
you're
right?
absolutely right, and that is you are a pro. When you can talk like that, you're a pro. Everybody has their preferences of paint, of course. Ultimately, it's your surface
Yeah.
that will
You
determine a lot.
I champion all of them. They all have their like, shout out to the culture for having variety, right? We have options, and
Yeah,
that's a real thing,
yeah,
So I'm just happy with that, that there are competing brands that I can choose from, right?
nice.
Um,
So this mural again, one of the things that we we appreciate about these public works is that they give people shine, of course, but it also gives them dignity. You see dignity in them, and of course, as a community, right? You see yourself in them.
yeah.
Tell us about this mural of uh, Chata.
So I mentioned that I painted the Carlos in Globeville at the Rec Center. That's about a block and a half up from the Rec Center on a bakery called Emmanuel's Bakery in Globeville. And that is a portrait of Chata. She is another one of those dancers that practices Aztec dance. And she actually came and blessed the wall, and they did a dance in front of it. And we shot a video, which I have as well, which I'll put on my Instagram after this. But yeah, I met her, and she was one of the first people I wanted to paint, aside from Carlos within the dance group. And her energy and her vibe was right there on par. And I knew I was going to paint her. And Birdseed had mentioned that, like, the bakery could really use a mural, another mural. And I was like, I'll do it, but you got to collaborate with me. And so he did all the color work. He did the feathers and the headdress and the beautiful background. And I came in and I did the portrait and the aura. And I really wanted her aura to be really pop, right? And graffiti, man. That's a graffiti
Yeah,
aura.
yeah, yeah. No, there is again. I like where you're going with this meaningful um, public work, and that one of the benefits too that it allows you to travel from state to state, country to country, and festival to festival. And this mural was for a festival, wasn't it?
No,
No?
actually, that's actually in that same place, that same resort. Um, yeah, that's Don and Abby, uh, right there. And I just did that on the love. I just wanted to paint them. Don and Abby, I spent some time with them. He worked on a resort, doing odd jobs and different things or whatever. And it's a hardworking man who's had, like, a crazy long life and just still just finds reasons to smile. But more importantly, like, the relationship between two animals, like that, two different beings,
Yeah,
their synergy is so on point. Like, they love each other, and I just wanted to
sure.
celebrate them together. And they're no longer at that said resort, but, like, they love it so much that they wanted that to stay. And that's just the beauty of that place. Like, they just allow me to do my thing, and I just paint whatever I want when I want. It's always a hard thing too when you get into, like, the financial aspects of what we do, like being able to paint what you want versus what they want, or being able to do your thing. So my best work always comes from the stuff I just want to do versus the stuff people want me to do for them. You
Like
know?
this mural, this is
Yeah.
something you wanted to do. This man had a special story in the community.
Yeah, so I went and I visited my friends Bacon and Kat in Toronto and hung out with them for a while, and I helped him with a bunch of his commission work, and that was part of a collaboration that we both did. And I remember we both talked about, like, just getting weird and uncomfortable. That man always pushes me outside my comfort zone. When I met him, like, I don't know, I fucking love that dude. He's just a great guy and an amazing, amazing artist and graffiti writer, right? But I remember us talking about like dissecting the face and us both working on both aspects of
Sure.
him. And we found that man, I believe his name is Elijah. Um, and he's well known in Toronto in Kensington Market, I believe, you know. But he said something really interesting to me. He said like, my time here is almost done and I'm done and I'm exactly where I need to be. And I don't know, like those words just hit me so hard, and I was like, all right, we're gonna paint him. And Bagel was like, oh yeah, I know him. That's Elijah. And I was like, tight. So it's dope when you get the right person, when you pick the right person.
Right. And
I don't know.
that's not an easy task, but I mean it is and it isn't, right? Because it's a matter of getting them to approve and of the right photograph, but more importantly, right, that something that really conveys who they are.
Yeah, you know, everybody can be celebrated like this. Anybody can, right? So anyone can, you know, in the right setting can be blessed like this. But like for me, when I meet the right person, it just hits different. And I just feel it. It's purely instinct, right? When I see somebody I'm excited about painting them, I know I'm gonna perform the way I need to perform. And so
Does that
that's
does that feel the same when you get a project like this that's a commissioned project?
Yeah, because this commission, I was allowed to do my thing. I was allowed to choose the individual. And that's a portrait of a man named Musa, who was a DJ and ran a lot of b-boy jams here in Denver back in the day. He's still like in the community and still working as an amazing artist in his own right. Musically as wise, you know, he produces music and stuff like that. And he's just a pillar in his community. So when I meet those kind of people, I know how to, I don't know, I've learned the photography aspect of what I do too, so I'll have like a little photo shoot with them. I'll already build with them on some level. So
Hmm.
painting them sometimes can be the easiest thing I can do, you know?
Nice. One of the things I have to commend you on, again, it is the imagery you edit and choose to work with,
Yeah,
but also, you know, a couple things. You know, I mean, obviously there are things technique wise, and also the, you know, what the image is able to convey about someone,
yeah,
but also that you're capturing the tonality, the texture of African Americans in with paint, which is not an easy task.
yeah,
Shit, it's not even easy for people to do with a camera, right?
yeah,
And with lighting. But that said, um, let's talk about that. Skin tone and painting as you've seen it since you were a kid, and now that your work is kind of covering a broad range of tonalities of people across your journey.
yeah. I'll be honest, I struggle with every single painting I do. Um, it's not something that always just comes very easy to me, right? It's a process. You have to work through it. You have to understand it. I study a lot. I spend more time staring at these faces than I do painting, you know? As far as painting black people go, or painting people in general that I feel like need to be celebrated, there's a lot that goes into it before I even touch a can to the wall, right? And that's understanding the person, right? Because when you see somebody and when you get to meet them, that you get to know their personality, so what they look like often changes to you. And so how I ingest them is how I try to paint them. And there's that visceral thing, that like unspoken thing that you can't see, that you can feel within them. And I try to hit that through the portraiture aspect, right? Through the photography aspect. And from there, I try to like keep that essence of that being with me as I'm painting the portrait. And that's how I try to go about it, right? Of course, there's tone, light, and shade and studying involved, right? Of course, I'm looking at light sources and things like that, and where things are placed, and trying to get the best detail, or how I want to compose them as serious or as beautiful as possible, right? To hit that on the head, right? Because it's all about honoring these people. I want them to love the fact that they're celebrated and understand the reason why they're celebrated, right? They're already champions in my eyes. So sometimes they need to see themselves as champions, or I need to put them up on the wall in a beautiful light.
Again, just an example that you can go beyond the portrait and do your own fantastical
Yeah,
imagery. Um, and again, a recurring theme. You
yeah,
talk about life and death in your
yeah,
as a thematic,
yeah.
completely understandable. Um, how has COVID manifested itself within that conversation about life and death and art?
I've lost a lot of close people. I've lost important relationships. Um, I've I felt like I was losing myself at times, right? Um, I don't know, man. It's growing growing pains. COVID has been nasty to us all. You know, it's given us a lot of time at the same breath to like understand the toxicity within our own selves, right? Um, I painted this last year, though, this piece right here with Remote Rock. Shout out to Remote Rock. He's another person I have great synergy with. And we painted a few pieces this year together as well in Michigan, and we did a memorial as well. You know, and that's the thing, you know, like I've been painting memorials before all this. You know, there's too many to count at this point. Um, just putting a name to it is the only thing that's new. And COVID has given me a lot of material, unfortunately. And it's a hard thing, and I'm struggling to deal with it, right? To understand, like, I don't know, I'm staring at faces that can't stare back. I say that a lot, you know, because that's my reality right now. It's fucked up, man. It's crazy, but I also understand the responsibility of it all, and I'm doing my best to just hold it together because it helps people, right? You know, it helps us all out on some levels, and I'm trying to, I guess, compartmentalize my feelings and do the best I can for our community.
If there's a lighter side to all of this to you in terms of what your art would look like or could look like, you know, if perhaps it didn't have the um, responsibility tied to it, or this, you know, the and again, this, you may be exactly where you need to be in life, but
Yeah.
what would that look like for you? What would
I,
what would,
It's funny you say that. I talked about that today, and it's one of those dreams. It's one of those big dreams, right? And after I shared my dream with a friend, he told me to dream even bigger. That's the piece I'm working on right now. Um, and that's the person I was talking to. And it's I would like to lock myself in a compound space with fresh fruit and vegetables and the companions of close ones and genre break. I would like, you know, anyone who's ever broken genres within the art world has always just locked themselves away and not cared about the world or the numbers or the influences, any of that shit. And that's what I would try to do. I would just not have to like worry about commerce or Instagram or the numbers or the responsibility of it all. I would just paint things and store them and paint them and store them.
right? As a working artist, it's primarily murals and private commissions.
Yeah, it's primarily murals and private commissions and mural festivals right now, and sometimes it's design work. I try not to do a lot of that unless it's like within my realm. I'm in a place now where I'm becoming more fortunate, where I can be a little more picky, you know. But the bills do have to be paid like anything else, right? So I do have responsibility of that, and I do have a plan. So you know, and black wealth is something that is an abundance of. So my plan is to be that too. You know,
Yeah,
save the money, run the numbers up, and also paint portraits of people that should be celebrated,
no,
that need to be
absolutely.
celebrated.
Absolutely, you know, and again, you know, the other thing too is, you know, um, within our community, you know, there is, you're cultivating your clients of the future.
Yeah,
You know, the more they see the work on the streets and communicate with you, and you know, you put out little prints, this, that, the other thing, and slowly but surely, and on and on.
yeah,
But you know, the works are beautiful on canvas. I mean, you're really pulling them off, and again, this keeps you in that conversation about contemporary portraiture.
yeah,
It's an important one, and this, like I said before, could be next to any modern portrait painter or even hyperrealist brush painter. And what's revolutionary and kind of groundbreaking about it is not the formalism. It's so much. It's really about who's painted it and how they painted it. And that's what's really important about it, because you talk about genre breaking, you're in that space already that is genre breaking for portraiture and for formal painting. and this is where you're really shining. Um, how you know, there's a lot of room, as you know. Picasso broke all the rules,
Yeah.
and you are doing it and will. But
Thank you.
there is something you get to straddle a couple spaces with in your world, which I really like. You know, one as a writer, or the other is as a a muralist, and then as a very serious portrait artist.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to the crew and the team, you know, that I surround myself with. You know, MSG has really allowed me to develop my style too as a portrait graffiti artist, right? Like
Right.
I rarely paint letters now. I don't much anymore. And like they allow me to be myself with spray, you know, and I'm allowed to move in this world and the culture and be celebrated and celebrate the people within it, you know. That's a portrait of Cipros, you know. Well, one of that man has taught me a lot, you know. I look forward to Miami and Basel coming up, or Miami Art Week this year. You know, I'll be doing some work with Mana and with you guys and with my crew,
Nice.
and I look forward to painting more beautiful portraits, man.
Man,
You know,
I really appreciate what you're doing, and that you supported us from the jump. Um, yeah, and we look forward to seeing you on the sunny side of the tracks for the moment,
thank you,
and
man.
man, incredible work. I'm glad you hung in there a little bit longer with me, and so let me just kind of turn this over. Yeah, I just want to kind of formally thank you on behalf of the Museum of Graffiti and our staff and and again, we look forward to working with you and seeing what comes of this. I'm fascinated by this, and we had your boy Jex on and we had a good
Yeah,
talk. He of course gives you mad love,
that man's
and
nasty.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And again, the story of how a young writer arrives at this place, this kind of uh, mastery. When we talk about style master and style mastery, it sometimes not um, the most apparent thing,
yeah,
right? Like the shiny object. It is the person, how they've mastered themselves through that.
yeah. There are certain people with certain energies that you can just like feel right away, you know, and that's a special thing. Um, I want to say thank you to you guys, yo. Like, the honor is all mine. It hit me this morning that, like, yo, I was watching the B side of you in Star Wars, and you were in your apartment, and you were showing all like the chrome sculptures you did with the arrows and
Mm.
stuff, and that's the man that's going to be interviewing me today. It blew my fucking mind. It was such an honor to paint at the Museum of Graffiti and to be celebrated and seen within this culture. I still can't believe it that like my childhood dream is coming true, and this is one of them, dog. Like I thank you guys. I'm so incredibly happy, and anything y'all want from me, done. Anything I can do, done. You know what I'm saying?
You're
Like, it is
doing
a
it.
pleasure.
You're doing it, brother. You're succeeding, and again, you're being purposeful with your community, which is good, and you're advancing the culture by doing what you're doing, and so likewise, brother. We celebrate you and want to give you the room to realize your talents as well. So till we meet up in Miami,
Hell yeah. I'll see you, I want to say October 16th, 17th, and I'll be there all the way until January.
Okay, hermano, café y leche.
All
I'll
right,
see
man.
you then.
Hell yeah, we're going to hit some for sure. All right,
Take
bro.
care.
Easy.
Bye.